Good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening and watching this Zoom interview special courtesy of Frontrunner Sports. We have another in our series of interviews, and this time we have the pleasure of being joined by the head coach of Supersport United, Kaitano Tembo, who joins us on the line. Coach, thank you so much for your time and for availing yourself just to have a chat with us.
Thank you very much for having me, Kamza. Really appreciate it.
How's lockdown treating you? How's things going? I see you growing out your hair and your beard in the meantime.
Yeah, it's been challenging, something very new, and we're not used to this. I think when we off season, it's probably maybe 2 weeks, at home,
Yeah.
and now it's almost 2 months, so it's been tough. But I think we're coping. We're trying to find ways and means, to cope.
I mean, how does that feel to you? Has it felt like a bit of a preseason, or will it only feel like that once you're back out on the field, under the correct regulations, training with your boys? How's the mood at the moment? Are guys chomping at the bit to get back to play, or are they taking the time off to enjoy themselves?
Look, the first 2 weeks, were very exciting. I think the players, really liked it, because that's the time which they normally get, when we are off season. But now I think they're getting frustrated, in terms of, just staying at home. Although we are, trying to come up with ways and means to make sure that they are still motivated, but, still on your own. It's always difficult. It's not the same when you're in a group, when you have to push each other, but now you've got to do it, on your own. So they will come up, they're a little bit frustrated, but at the same time, I think they're also positive, which we have to look at, what are we trying, to get out of this, in terms of, what kind of a player are we going to be able to get out of this? I think we'll be able to get players with strong character, because I think for you to be able to do this on your own, it's not easy. And it's not always about being motivated by someone, but now you've got to motivate, which is a little bit difficult. And I think this is one of the benefits which we might get after this.
What's been your approach? Has it been a bit of a soft touch as far as, when communicating with players, or do you have something a bit more regimented where players are meant to check in, where you keep tabs on the players' progress and their development in their own time? How have you been approaching keeping up with what the players are doing?
Look, I've got to, play a different role, especially in this situation, because we've got a group of, fitness trainers, which are three covers, Kate and Innocent, who have been doing a very, fantastic job in terms of monitoring the players, whether they're doing they're following their training program, and, sending videos on a daily basis. So they've been doing a very, good job. So me, I come in at a, with a different role where I've got to work on the players mentally. So I've got to play a different role where I have to, always make sure that I focus more on their health, focus more on the family, finding out how are they coping. I think that's the main thing, especially with the younger players who are, away from home. And when it started, they didn't have enough time, to really go back home. And we thought that it was going to end very soon.
Right.
So with young players who are staying on their own, so I need to, make sure that I'm constantly communicating with them, talking to them, make sure that they don't panic.
Yes. Okay. Speaking of roles, let's discuss yours. I mean, with Supersport, your time with them is clocking in at about 20 years, in terms of you being part of the mix at Supersport United. Let's first talk about your role and how it's evolved over the years. Obviously, you had the assistant coaching positions under some very successful coaches with the club, and then you've been able to carve out your own success with the MTNA victory. So just tell us about the evolution of Kaitano Tembo's role at Supersport United over the years.
Look, I think it started when I came in as a player. I think at that time, Supersport as a club, it also started, evolving. I think started being in a very ambitious club. I think from 2000, where they wanted to win trophies and make sure that they always compete, in terms of staying in the top 8. And that's when it started. And they brought in, good players and good coaches as well to be able to achieve that. I remember it started with Roy Matthews, and then came Bruce Krobler, then came Pitso Mosimane, came Coach Gavin, and came Coach Kevin Johnson, and Coach Stuart Baxter, and Coach Eric Winkler, and Coach Gordon Higgesen. So you can see all those are top coaches.
Right.
And that's where you see that, the club is very ambitious. We want to win things, we want to do well. And when I retired, I went into into the academy to prepare myself, and learn, from the guys as well, the academy, because we've got good coaches like Godfrey Muswetsa. There's also Kwanele Kopo. We've done well in terms of developing young players in the academy. So I was part of that, for close to 10 years. And I think that really helped me to build my own personality, my own philosophy as a coach, because I was working at an environment where I could learn, and there was less pressure as well. My role was to always to make sure that I work on my philosophy, and as well as young players to achieve their dreams. And I also got promoted to work as an assistant coach, and I worked with Coach Gordon Higgesen. I worked with Coach Gavin Hunt. I also worked with Coach Stuart Baxter and also Eric Tinkler. And those are all top coaches who have won, trophies, who have done well. And I've learned a lot from them. But I think the one coach who gave me really a boost, and someone who really gave me a lot of confidence in terms of my ability and my development was Coach Stuart Baxter. Because you could, trust me with the responsibilities of, taking the team when he was not around, training. So that really gave me confidence. That really built me as an individual, because sometimes you tend to lose confidence if you're not really in the thick of things most of the time. And I think he gave me that opportunity to do that. And that really helped me, especially when I had to go to places like DRC when we played TP Mazembe. And he gave me the responsibility. And I think my confidence just rose from, because I think when someone like Stuart Baxter believes in you, it means a lot.
Okay, you speak about philosophy. Let's talk about that. What is your philosophy? And do you think that being at one club for so long, your philosophy is kind of colored by the philosophy of the club? Are you guys intertwined in terms of the direction and the type of football you want to play? And I mean, is that the benefit of being at one place for so long, is that you can kind of influence it as much as it influences you?
Yeah, look, to some extent, it depends what kind of players attract the club, and it has to do well with the resources. But at the same time, if you can look at it, we are taking in a very different direction where we focusing more on giving opportunities to younger players. And since I took over, I think last season, I think we've seen a lot of young players coming in, playing regularly, which has always been my philosophy, because I come from that background, from the development where I've seen young players not getting opportunities.
Right.
They tend to fall off, from the ages of 18, 17, because of, not getting enough opportunities. And I want to try and, build that and, create an opportunity for them. But it doesn't necessarily mean that when you using young players, you're saying you're not ambitious.
Right.
Young with the right mentality, with the right attitude, the young players who've got hunger and desire to succeed. Those are the young players which we're looking for, and who will give opportunities for them, to showcase their talent.
I mean, there's that risk? Kevin Johnson, one of your colleagues and predecessors at Supersport United, was very big with development, but the results weren't forthcoming. Is that a consideration when you think about players that are young and putting them into a starting 11? Do you worry about the safety of your job, or are you operating in an environment where they understand that, listen, these things take time. Results might not be forthcoming initially, but they will eventually. What's the mood? I mean, have you got enough support around the use of the young players, even if the results are not forthcoming?
Look, in this industry, it's always about results.
Right.
But if you believe in something, I think results will always come. It doesn't matter whether you have experienced players. Sometimes you don't get results. It's normal. It does happen. But you've got to, believe in something. If you believe in something, you've got to, trust in it as well. And I think the advantage which I have as well is our CEO, Mr. Stanley Matthews, has played a huge role, in terms of that, because he's known me, for the past 20 years we've been together, and in and out, that I believe in using, giving an opportunity to young players. And he's really supported me. But at the same time, I think you've got to create, a good balance between youngsters and experienced players. That's why we're the spine of the team. If you look at it, Ronwen has been with the club since he was 18.
Sure.
But now he's the captain, the team. As a goalkeeper and in defense, we have Clayton Daniels, who's seen it all, the experience. And in midfield, we had Dean, who worked very well with young players like Teboho Mkwena, Sipombule, Jesse Don. He's helped as well in terms of grooming them and developing them. And up front, we have Bradley Krobler. And with the youngsters like Gampani Lungu, there is Aubrey Modipa, there is Manziba. All those youngsters have been learning a lot from the experienced players which we've had. So we've got a good balance, in terms of the right, spine, for the team.
Okay, let's talk about, the current mix of players and what you've been working with essentially for the past 2 seasons. It's your second season as a head coach. How would you characterize those 2 seasons and working with the mix of players that you worked with?
Look, to be honest, when I started as a interim coach. And I think when I took over, we were 14th on the log, and we were 2 points above relegation.
Yeah.
That season, we finished 7th. And last season, when I was appointed as a full-time head coach, we got into the final of the MTN 8 and we lost it. And we finished 6th. And this season, we also got into the MTN 8 final and then we won it. And we are currently 3rd. So for me, if I look at it, I believe in building. And progress in terms of that, because we are moving in the right direction. And then along the line, if you look at the team which was playing last season, the team which played this season, there's a lot of difference because we've got a lot of players which we have released, and we have brought in, new players who are a little bit younger as well to try and refresh the squad.
Right.
So in the right direction, I think with 2 to 3 years to come, if we manage to keep our team together, I think we'll be able to be fighting for the league. But nevertheless, even though last season, I think at some point with 4 games to go, we have 4 points the top. And this season as well, we're not that far off. So which means there is a little bit of progress in terms of where we want to go.
I mean, it must be such a relief to have a board and a chairman who understand that these things take time. How important has that been to not be looking over your back all the time, as some coaches have to do constantly in the PSL?
Look, it's very important. Like I said, the chairman, Mr. Kulusibia, he was one of the top players in South Africa. He played football. He does understand the game, that
Mm,
he does a bit of time, and he has always, been very supportive. In terms of, whatever I might need,
mhm.
for me to be successful. And him and the board have been very supportive, and I really appreciate that. I've been, blessed to say the least.
You speak about that support, and we see how it trickles down in terms of how you guys gave Dean that send off, thanking him for being such a good servant to the club, and contributing to this development that you speak of. How big a loss is it to lose someone like Dean Furman, and how do you even get to replacing them in terms of having that experience and solidity in the midfield, or is it just now a good time for the young guys to step up?
Look, you can never have someone like Dean again, because
Mm,
very, influential. He was very committed. He was very humble, respectful, and is one person who will always give you more than 100%
mm,
in 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 and off the field. He's always been very committed. I think he has been a true example to the younger players as well.
mm,
Why I spoke about the emergence of the Teboho Mkwenas, the Sipombule, the Jamie
mm,
Weber. They've all worked, trained with Dean on a daily basis, and they've seen how a true professional behaves. And that has really helped a lot, for us. And I think it was not the send-off which we had anticipated.
mm,
Uh, I think he deserved a little bit more,
mm,
than the send-off which we gave him. But nevertheless, I think God had other plans, and we can only, wish him all the best, in his future endeavors. But in terms of, his replacement, I think the last 6 games will give us also an opportunity, especially to the younger players, to step up and see if they can carry the baton. If we need and to plug in the gap,
mm.
probably after the 6 games, to give us a proper direction in terms of where we want to go. But for now, it's an opportunity for the younger players to raise their hands.
No, for sure, for sure. We speak about the younger players, but you have some experienced campaigners, the likes of Bradley Grobler, Tamika Buza. You were able to almost, revive his fortunes, and we saw what it can do to change your surroundings when he moved to Supersport United. We kind of saw what you would have probably seen in him as a player to bring him through. How have you managed to get the best out of them? Where in a league where closer you are to 30, the more surplus to requirements you seem to become. But these are guys who are, making sure they're ending off with a bang. What did you say? What did you draw out of them to get these type of performances?
I knew that Gabuza, coming to us, he would definitely want to prove, something.
Mm,
And all he needed was, for us to give him that support and, give him a little bit of love.
mm,
Because of his work ethic has been, okay. And he came in, everyone supported him, the technical team, his teammates, they gave him all the love and the support, and he was very, comfortable. The environment was, less tense, and I think that's why he could be able to, to play his normal football without any pressure, knowing that he's allowed to make mistakes. But he's always going to be, supported. And I think that's what we gave him. And for how long? That's the question, because
mm,
it's about consistency. That's very key.
right.
And how long will he be able to continue that way? That's another question. But for now, I think when he came on, he did very well for us. And also with Bradley, I think this season, he's always been a top player. Make no mistake. I think Bradley, a fit Bradley, is one of the best strikers in the country. And I think because he has managed to stay fit. I think this is one season which he has played injury-free. And we've tried to manage him properly and do a lot of individual work with him, in terms of, strengthening him. And I think it has really helped, and that's why he's been performing. But in terms of his talent, he's one of the best strikers in the country.
One recurring theme for me throughout our discussion seems to be psychology, and some people, tend to forget it. Sometimes I'll log on to a website and you'll see a discussion around the mental health of players during this time. And you then realize when speaking to a professional coach such as yourself, that the psychology component is such an important one when it comes to fine-tuning the approach of a player. How much of an emphasis do you put on that, and how many external parties would you have in terms of actual psychologists who come in and try to help you keep the mood up as far as the camp is concerned and make sure the players are fine-tuned psychologically?
Look, like I said, communication is very key. You've got to know players in and out. You've got to be consistently communicating with them. And when they have, problems, when players do trust you, it makes it a little bit easier. Then when they can communicate with you, about everything, anything, whether at home, because they come from, families, they've got responsibilities. Others are fathers, they've got kids, and the younger ones, they've got girlfriends. So if you talk to them, it's easy for them to, to communicate, and then you'll know what's going on. If you need to bring anyone from outside, we normally do that,
right.
Bring in who can help us, because we play that role, but at the same time, we're not, professionals in that, in that field.
Yeah.
So sometimes we need outside help, to really help us. And we've tried to do that. Like you said, this is a very difficult time, whereby players are really, also panicking because this virus is dangerous. This virus is killing people, and you don't know where it is. So it's a time where you need to have family around, and at the same time you away from home and you've got no support. So the only support which they can get probably is from us as well. We need to make sure that they are okay, emotionally. They are not really, stressed, because they're young, especially the younger ones are, a huge problem.
I mean, you speak about the younger ones. You've mentioned Mbule and Weber, the likes of Ashwin, Apollos. Just tell us, in terms of your prospects, with the products that are coming through the ranks, how excited are you about the future of Supersport United based on the talent that you're cultivating?
Look, I'm very excited because I think we bring in the right players, players who, it's about, hunger and desire first. I think that's very key. In terms of talent, they have the talent, but are they able to fight and to get what they need? And that's another thing. And we try to do that. And it starts all the way from the academy in terms of building that. And Ozuna Policy is already made his debut. And we had Kanyisile Mai as well. He made his debut. This past season, there's Jesse Don also made his debut. Those are only 19-year-olds. And it's easy, because what's key is to teach them consistency. But that you are as good as your last game. Sometimes also we've got to manage them, socially, and we've got to manage them in terms of, the media as well, because sometimes when they see their names on the papers, it becomes a problem. They forget that, you still have to continue, because once once everyone knows about you, that's where the starts.
Of course.
And you be consistent. You've got to be consistent. And that's one area where I always try and make sure that I emphasize on, because consistency is very key.
Consistency is very key, and you hear a lot of coaches opine about the lack of consistency. What do you think that's down to? Why do you think that we don't have players stringing together good runs of form? I remember back in my broadcasting days, we would have a player that we pick as an impact player, looking at his previous performances coming into a game, and then all of a sudden he disappears. What do you think is happening as far as when players, trying to find that consistent streak in their performances and not being able to?
Look, especially, I always talk about the young players. I think it's also about the media. I spoke about when the media, because the media have got to do their job. We
Right.
can't blame them for talking about, good talent.
Yes.
But at the same time, I think our players don't take it positively. They forget about working hard, what took them there.
Right.
Because it's very hard to get there. And for you to stay there, you've got to work a little bit harder.
Right.
Because once everyone knows you, people are going to prepare for you as well. So you've got to work a bit harder, to always make sure that you are a step ahead. And I think that's what we lack, especially with the younger players. They start forgetting about how they got there. And I think the key is to continue working hard.
Okay, no, it sounds like, humility for you is the key for these young guys to realize that once they've arrived, the work actually only begins then. We spoke about your log table position, sitting in third. You've got silverware. I'm pretty sure you're 90% of whatever the mandate that was set at the club beginning of the season was. So just to kind of help me, confirm my curiosity, are you on track? What was the mandate coming into the season?
Well, my mandate has been to just do better than last season.
Okay.
We are on track,
Yep.
to try and achieve that and do better than last season. I think the last 6 games are also going to be key for us.
I mean, consistency was one of the criticisms leveled at your team. We've spoken about it now, saying that, if you guys had just kind of seen through a couple of results, you could have been in a possible title charge. Do you look back on some games and think, hey, we could have actually been in the running to, be title contenders? Yes, there's the mathematics component right now that it's possible, but, you've played a couple of games more. Do you reflect on the season and look at key games, particular games, thinking we could have just, kept this title charge together had we got the right results?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think we are the first ones to agree and say probably about 8 points short of where we're supposed to be. Because if I look back at some of the games which I feel that, I'm not talking about games where we didn't play well. I'm talking about games we played well, games where we were in charge.
Right.
Where we were leading.
Yes.
And just concentration. I think those are games where, like against Leopards, I think we were leading 2-1 with a minute to go. We gave away a penalty, and the game ended at 2-2. That's 2 points dropped. Same applies to Iceberg at home. We were leading 2-1. And then we conceded last minute. It was 2-2. That's 4 points. And against Stellenbosch at home, we're leading 1-0 with probably 5 minutes to go. They equalized another 2 points, which is about 6 points. And other games which I felt that we drew and we would have won. So, but you can't really be too critical. I think you can always take the positives. I think there are also games which we won and didn't deserve to win, and that's how it is. But in terms of where we are, we happy, but we know we can do better. We can still do better with the last 6 games.
Okay, and lastly, before I let you go, obviously we're all waiting on this joint committee between SAFA and the PSL to kind of report back as to how they think the best way to move forward is. But, as a coach, what do you think would be the best solution? One that you'd be able to sleep with at night, knowing that this is how the league was ended, if the possibility of playing out the season comes off the table? How then do you resolve it? Points per game, current standings, expand the league to accommodate the guys in the national first division? What do you think is an equitable solution? One that would give you peace as a coach if it was instituted?
Look, it's a little bit difficult, because from where I am, third on the log, I would just say, you know what, let's finish it as it is.
Yeah.
But to be realistic, I think to be realistic, also for the dignity of our league, I think we need to see it through. If we can be able to finish the games, I think whoever wins it, there is no court cases, because those are other issues where we have to try and avoid, because it impacts on a whole lot of things if we don't finish the league. Because if you look at the NFD, the great championship, there are also teams which are looking to be promoted.
Sure.
And what do you, and as well with the, if we would say we would take the route of taking the league with to 18 teams, but we get the money, because now we are in a situation where a lot of teams are also struggling. But where are we going to be able to sponsorships for us to do that? So for me, we should try and finish the league. I think it will be fair. If whoever wins it, you won it fair and square. There is no issues. But unless if we cannot, then probably it's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's really tough, Kamza. It's for me, the only solution is to try and finish the league.
Okay, and then in terms of we finish the league and we restart again, what do you think would be a fair gap between the end and the restart? Because some argue that we're having a preseason now, the time off for the bodies to regenerate is now. We finish off the games that are remaining, and then we give it about a week or two, then we start again to get into the new season. Would you be fine with something like that, or do you think that there still needs to be another break to kind of give players time to regroup?
Well, for me, I think as soon as we finish, if we start and we finish, I think we should be able to start straight away, because these last 6 games, I don't think we'll be able to play them with the same intensity, as where we were, before. So it's part of our, build up, into the season. First 6 games, to be honest, the players are not really at their peak. So we can use the first 6 games to do that and go to it again.
That makes sense. Coach Kaitano, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your thoughts and impressions. It's good to get into your brain a bit and speak outside of the pressures of a post-match conference where it's heated and things are running at a high as far as emotions are concerned. It was good to catch you on a day where we could just kind of elucidate some of your philosophy and also look back on the current 2 years as head coach and, of course, the 18 before that with you being as part of the Supersport FC family. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Kamza.
Have a great day and hope to see you back pitch side sometime soon. We don't know what the league will resolve, but yeah, any message for the Supersport United fans who are hoping to hear from their coach?
Well, I think we miss them, guys do miss them, but at the same time, I think what's important is for us to make sure that they're safe. They should please adhere to the health regulations which have been, set up by the government. I think that's very key. And please stay at home, because the quicker we can, get rid of this virus, the quicker we can be able to get back, to the pitch and do what we love, is, to make them happy. And I think please stay safe and stay at home.
Coach Kaitano Tembo of Supersport United FC, thank you for your time.